Let's turn to the VP that has been selected here, JD Vance. Lots of reported regret from the Trump campaign because Vance is polling horribly. After the convention,
historically bad.
Historically, he already was a bad pick because he didn't have enthusiasm in his home state. Trump and Governor DeWine, two Republicans, outperformed JD Vance in that state. Even though Ohio has been trending red and is fairly deeply red at this point for quite a few years and election cycles. So he's just not a talented politician. He's a bag man. He's close with Peter Thiel. He's made a lot of money himself. And Donald Trump can't spend all of his campaign funds that he's raising on just campaigning. He has to also pay his lawyers because of the legal battles that he's in. So money and big money donors are of the essence. So he picked a charisma suck and also a guy who, as this gets more mainstreamed, I think it's going to be really off-putting for their core constituency that they need to win over of suburban female voters. JD Vance has made just like a bunch of weird comments about women, about families. Some are getting unearthed. We played for you him telling Tucker Carlson in 2021 or 2022 that we couldn't turn over our country to liberals like Kamala Harris, who were, quote, childless cat ladies. That prompted Jennifer Aniston, of all people, to speak out this morning.
Oh, damn.
They're getting, the liberal celebrities being on
They're
board.
activating celebrities we didn't even know got involved in politics.
Yeah, this is super Obama '08 in that way. And
David Arquette's going to come through.
right. And this, those were the comments that we played for you the other day, which were insane. But this was an old speech. Where was this, Bradley?
It's like the Intercollegiate Studies Institute. It's a William F. Buckley founded organization.
Yeah, I was going to say,
Delaware.
What kind of front organization is this?
Right. So this is just was giving a speech 2 years ago, and he has this policy idea for families. Let's hear him out.
Democrats are talking about giving the vote to 16-year-olds, but let's do this instead.
No, they're not.
Let's give votes to all children in this country, but let's give control over those votes to the parents of those children. When you go to the polls in this country as a parent, you should have more power. You should have more of an ability to speak your voice in our democratic republic than people who don't have kids. Let's face the consequences and the reality. If you don't have as much of an investment in the future of this country, maybe you shouldn't get nearly the same voice. Now, people will say, and I'm sure the Atlantic and the Washington Post and all the usual suspects will criticize me about this in the coming days. Well, doesn't this mean that non-parents don't have as much of a voice as parents? Doesn't this mean that parents get a bigger say in how our democracy functions? Yes, absolutely.
So I want to read this excerpt here from the progress report, Jordan Zakarian, about the roots of this movement. I've been talking about natalism on this program for a while. Elon Musk also subscribes to it. He believes in spreading his DNA around the world and
around his staff.
Yeah, and usually, right. And usually that means the white people and heterosexual people populating the earth. But this is where this originates from. A new paper previewed in the Koch-owned libertarian-flavored Reason magazine advances the idea that parents should be able to cast votes on behalf of their children, and that states have the power to authorize it. Here's a bit from the abstract. Children are 23% of all citizens. They have distinct interests, and they already count for electoral districting, but they lack the maturity to vote for themselves. Their interests don't count proportionally at the polls. Can we pull this up here? The result is policy that observably disservices children's interests and violates a deep principle of democratic fairness. that citizens through voting can make political power respond to their interests. And then Jordan writes, if this sounds ridiculous, the authors anticipated you would say that and came up with an offensive rebuttal from the intro. Today, it's so unquestioned that even pointing it out can seem like a silly provocation rather than a serious policy proposal. Deep assumptions are like that. Questioning them always seems crazy at first. The suggestion that women should be allowed to vote once spurred derision, until wave upon wave of challenging assumptions produced the 19th Amendment. Of course, there's a crucial difference. Unlike the women who demanded their right to vote, children really are incompetent to vote for their interests, at least at a sufficiently young age. One might disagree whether 18 is the right line, but surely something is. 8-year-olds are incompetent to vote for their interests. So our claim is that children should be able to isn't that children should be able to vote from birth. Our claim is that their parents should cast votes for them. Now, the point is that they already do. If children are unable to vote for their interests when they're 8 years old, the parents are voting for policies that, in theory at least, benefit them. What JD Vance and these natalists are trying to argue is that government policy should count people who have more children more than people who are single by giving them multiple votes per child. Almost like, I don't know,
How about 3/5 of a
the
vote
3/5 compromise, right? Like if you have some people who, are employed by you, but don't,
are owned by you?
right, but you don't pay them.
What if he says it in terms of investment, which I think is the big giveaway. Why not? People who invest are own companies, and shouldn't they be able to cast a vote for every one of their employees?
Well, I mentioned Elon Musk earlier. Is there any kind of way to enforce, say, if you're like a tech vampire like Elon, you get rich, you have a bunch of kids, and then you abandon them?
Yeah,
do you still get to vote? Does he still get 10 extra votes because he has 10 kids that he doesn't ever see or worry about?
It would give him a reason to claim them.
Well, it would in theory, but you don't need to design the policy that way. But would that apply to, say, like the non-heterosexual people or minorities? This is the group that Republicans continuously, especially black people in this country, say is affected by the plight of fatherlessness. Do you think that an Elon Musk or a wealthy guy under a natalist Republican empire would treat the random guy who maybe doesn't have a relationship with his kids or with the mother the same way in terms of giving that person more votes versus the rich guy who has all the resources in the world? Or would it be contingent on the promulgation and preservation of a certain kind of family?
Yeah. Sean Kemp versus the Duggar family. Also, speaking of ISI, that place he was speaking at there, and Trump distancing himself from Project 2025. ISI is a member of the advisory board of Project 2025, a collection of conservative and right-wing policy proposals from the Heritage Foundation to reshape United States federal government and consolidate executive power should the Republican nominee win the 2024 presidential election.
There's more on this theory being rooted in conservatives who have power. Jordan continues. The author of this paper is named Stephen E. Sachs, who once clerked for Chief Justice John Roberts and now serves as the Antonin Scalia Professor of Law at Harvard Law School. He is a right-wing conservative who won a prestigious award from the Federalist Society in 2020 and claims an expertise in originalism, the nimblest of legal theories. We have which contorts itself to always arrive at whichever outcome a conservative jurist so desires. There's every likelihood he could wind up as a federal judge and perhaps one day a Supreme Court justice. Why would conservatives like Sachs want to give parents an extra vote for each of their children? Sachs cites fellow Yale Law graduate JD Vance as a supporter of the pseudo-children suffrage idea. And Vance is a key leader of the nascent Peter Thiel-funded New Right movement, which sprinkles a bit of populism over a Christian nationalist ideology that seeks to make the, quote, traditional family the center of American life. The natalist movement overlaps with the New Right. Some may be atheists, but they also fear the Great Replacement theory and seek to secure their cultural future through procreation. Members of the movement would likely benefit from most of these policies, both financially and politically, giving them exponential strength in numbers. So, like Viktor Orban, who they're borrowing from here, this is a way to say, like, hey, we're going to use policies that seem like they're for the social benefit and giving tax breaks and benefits to families, but not in the way that Kamala Harris and Biden envisioned via the expanded child tax credit, which is payments to alleviate child poverty. No. We will give outsized political power and voting power to certain kinds of families the more they breed certain kinds of children. Now, I ask JD Vance and the Trump campaign once again, this was your strategy to appeal to suburban women? You're not going to give, like, families that are struggling to get by, say if they have 4 kids, right? Say they're a conservative family and they're religious and they didn't believe in birth control and they have kids and it's hard for them to make ends meet. You're going to give them, like, an extra vote? Or could you directly give them benefits and financial assistance in the way that the child tax credit did before Joe Manchin killed it and other Republicans, the entire Republican Party? Or could you give them a way to alleviate their own poverty, alleviate child poverty, as that expanded child tax credit did? 45% of children lifted out of poverty just by expanding that program. And I'm encouraged to see that Harris is seemingly adopting that into her platform as well.
What color were they? Like, he doesn't care about that. Universal daycare is class war against normal people, said JD Vance.
Yes. This is a tweet that he had back in 2021. Universal childcare is a massive subsidy to the lifestyle preferences of the affluent over the preferences of the middle and working class. Now, it appears that that's also something that Harris may want to run on. This is a classic right-wing trope, by the way. Programs that are universal, which makes them more durable, like Medicare, like Social Security, everyone gets them no matter their income level. Those are programs that have sustainability. So making, like, does universal kindergarten, does universal high school, do public high schools act as a subsidy to the lifestyle preferences of the affluent over the preferences of the middle and working class? Because anybody can go to a public school because they pay taxes? That's the same thing with universal childcare, buddy. You got to risk the imagination of a new possibility. I'm joking, but this is what the Republicans have to offer. We'll give outsized voting benefits to the people that we like, white people who are heterosexual, and then we will say that all the programs that could help everybody more broadly are actually against your interests, when in reality we know that creating durable, long-standing programs like this uplifts people. And so I'm hoping we go in that direction. I'm hoping more people see this, because I don't think this appeals to suburban women in the way the Trump campaign may like, and perhaps they're regretting it.
Hey folks, don't forget to hit the subscribe button and check out our daily show. We do it every day at 12 p.m. Eastern for about 2.5 hours. We even take phone calls. You should check that out.